In today's video, we will be looking at HOA patrolled the neighborhood at night, but their shadows moved the wrong way. The homeowner association was founded with the goal of ensuring that the neighborhood remains a great place to live for everyone. The board of directors is in charge of upholding the community's aesthetic standards and safeguarding its property values. They take their responsibilities very seriously and believe they are accountable to the community's residents. That is why they do everything they can to ensure the regulations are followed. It might not always seem like it, but the HOA does care about the neighborhood and its inhabitants. Most people think that HOAs are only interested in maintaining the value of properties in the neighborhood and cracking down on anyone who violates the rules and regulations. However, this is not true. They also work hard to make sure that everyone in the neighborhood feels safe and secure. This is especially important at night when most people are asleep and the neighborhood is at its most vulnerable. The HOA has a team of security guards who patrol the neighborhood at night, looking for any suspicious activity. They drive around slowly, checking all the houses to make sure everything is okay. If they see anything or anyone that looks suspicious, they will investigate further. This could be someone walking around with a flashlight, a car driving slowly through the neighborhood, or even a house that has its lights on when no one is supposed to be awake. The security guards take their jobs very seriously and are trained to handle any situation that may arise. They are armed and will use force if necessary to protect themselves or others. The guards have been instructed to be on the lookout for a variety of different things, including signs of a break-in, such as a window that has been smashed or a door that has been left open. They also look for cars that are parked in the wrong places or that do belong in the neighborhood, and they check to make sure that all the street lights are working. If the guards see anything suspicious, they will investigate further. This could involve talking to people, checking ID, or even searching vehicles. In some cases, the guards may also need to call the police. However, they try to handle every situation without calling the cops because they know that this can sometimes escalate things unnecessarily. The HOA's security team is committed to keeping the neighborhood safe, and they take their job very seriously. They understand the importance of being vigilant and proactive in order to prevent crime from occurring. By patrolling the neighborhood day and night, they are able to identify potential problems before they become serious issues. They are trained to handle a variety of situations and will use force if necessary to protect themselves or others. Overall, the HOA's security team is an invaluable asset to the community. Residents living in an HOA community should feel confident, knowing that there are people who are dedicated to making their neighborhoods safer. But there are some people in the community who don't want to follow these rules. They might think they're above the rules or just don't care about the consequences. These people need to be watched more closely than others to make sure they don't cause any trouble. One such person was Mr. Williams, who lived in a beautiful home at the end of the cul-de-sac. He had been warned by the HOA in the past about his behavior, but he never seemed to listen. The HOA decided that enough was enough and hired a private investigator to watch him. The investigator began following Mr. Williams around, watching his every move. He soon discovered that Mr. Williams was up to no good. He was seen speeding through the neighborhood, having loud parties, and even setting off fireworks. The HOA confronted Mr. Williams about his behavior and he was fined thousands of dollars. However, Mr. Williams refused to pay the fines and fought back against the HOA. He took them to court, claiming that they had violated his privacy rights. This case is an example of how HOAs need to be careful when dealing with difficult residents. While they have the right to enforce the rules and regulations of the community, they also need to respect the rights of their residents. It is important for HOAs to remember that not all residents will be happy all the time, and they should strive to find common ground and compromise whenever possible. Sometimes the HOA gets carried away and takes things too far. This happened to a man in Florida who was fined $100 because his grass was the wrong color. Yes, you heard that right. The lawn of his home was a bright green color, which violated the HOA's rules and regulations. He had been warned in the past about his grass, but he ignored the warnings and continued to grow it the way he wanted to. When the HOA officials went to his home to talk to him about his grass, he wasn't home. They left him a warning and a fine of $100. The man was shocked when he read the note. He couldn't believe that he was being fined for something so silly. He decided to fight the ticket and took the HOA to court. The court ruled in favor of the HOA, and the man was ordered to pay the fine. This case is an example of how HOAs can sometimes be unreasonable with their rules and regulations. While it is important for HOAs to maintain the aesthetic appeal of a community, They should also be reasonable and flexible. HOAs have the authority to set rules and regulations for the community. They have the power to enforce those rules, and they can even take legal action against members who violate them. But they are not above the law, and there are limits to what they can do. One such limit was tested in a case involving a woman in California who was fined by her HOA because she had solar panels installed on her roof. The woman appealed the decision, and the case went to court. The court ruled that the HOA did not have the authority to prohibit the installation of solar panels, and the woman won the case. Another case involved a man in Florida who was fined by his HOA because he had a pool installed in his backyard. The man argued that the pool was exempt from the HOA's regulations because it was installed before he purchased the home. The court agreed, and the man won the case. These cases are examples of how HOAs need to be aware of the limits of their authority. While they do have certain powers, they cannot use them to violate the rights of their members. HOA should be transparent in their decision-making process and be willing to listen to the concerns of their members. When it comes to enforcing the rules and regulations of an HOA, it is important to strike a balance between being fair and being firm. HOA should be consistent in their enforcement and not single out any particular member. They should also be willing to work with members to find solutions that are acceptable to both parties. Being a member of an HOA can be frustrating at times, but it is important to remember that the HOA is there to protect the interests of the community as a whole. By working together, members and HOAs can create a positive living environment for everyone. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any feedback for us, please leave it in the comments below. We would love to hear what you have to say. We will see you next time.